No more, Compass Rose told Tennis Mats, and she dropped her racket and doubled over, panting. You're too good at this, Matsy. Tennis Mats grinned as she walked around the net to join her friend. Rose, you're not half bad yourself. You should really consider joining the school's tennis club. I think you do great. Says the girl who in for the Olympics tryout next year. Tennis Mats rolled her eyes. Yeah, right. I still have a long way to go, Rose. Played against a ranked girl from Shasta U's last week, and while I had my own, it was clear she was beyond me. I'm not there yet, but give me a couple of years. Yeah, well, I'll be there to cheer you on, Rose said, adjusting her glasses. I'm just not the sporting type. But I thought Barry liked you hot and sweaty. The other girl teased, and Rose turned a bright shade of red as a result. Knowing that, Tennis Mats asked, Don't tell me you two. Maybe, Rose said, blood starting to extend her face. That's great, really. I'm glad you found someone who makes you happy, Rose. Now, if Scott and I can find guys of our own, we'll be set. Picking up the spare tennis racket that she lent Rose, her eyes stretched to the clock against the wall. What time did you say you were meeting Barry? Rose adjusted her glasses. Shit, I'm late. Sorry, Matsy, but I gotta go. I promised Barry we'd go to the movies this afternoon. No problem. I was gonna practice a bit more against the blackboard. It's 3 blocks away from where my mom works, so I can walk there afterwards. Don't worry, I'll be fine. You sure? Tennis Mats laughed. You're not worried about me. I'll call you later tonight and you can tell me how your date went, okay? Now go shower and get ready. That girl of yours deserves you at your best. Yeah, that she does. See you later. Waving goodbye to her friend, Rose walked off towards the locker rooms, leaving Tennis Mats to pick up the balls the two had hit. Whereas moving over to the blackboard at solo practice. She did this for a few minutes until someone else, another girl, joined her. Nothing was said, but instinctively the two started playing single-wall tennis, moving and going at it with a skill that made Tennis Mats a second workout, having to play someone a little higher up on the skill level. Finally, the two stopped, and Tennis Mats gave her opponent a tired smile. Hey, you're good. That's what they tell me, the other girl replied. How about I get a chance to prove it to the Tennis Federation when they start doing quals next year? You're going for the quals? Neat, Taz cooed. You seem like you know your way around Clark. Yeah, I do, the girl said, offering her hand. Tennis Mats took it and introduced herself. And you are? You can just call me Contaralo, the other girl said with a wolfish smile. Meanwhile, back with Sunset. Look, this is a really bad time for me, Sunset said over the phone as she watched the secure corner. Look, Sonny, as weird as it sounds, she's sincere about it, Rainbow replied. I don't think I've seen her so non-beguiling. Whatever. The fact is, she's on the up and up about it, and I think it'd be good for both of you. Besides, both me and AJ will be there. Seriously, what could go wrong? Didn't AJ have to bail you out of whatever Gilda and Lightness tried to do to you? Besides, I could take care of myself. Yeah, I'm sure you can. But nobody wants the place burned down due to whatever magic fireball you threw at her. Look, just trust us, okay? Fine, Sunset sighed. I guess I'll see you guys later. Bye. Hanging up the phone, she leaned over to the countertop face down. Why me? Is everything okay, dear? Mrs. Cake asked. You don't know the half of it, Sunset groaned. Elsewhere, Coco watched her cousin as the older girl looked around town in a sense of jamais vu. I swear I've been here before, Sarah told her. A few seconds later, she pointed at a cafe shop. If I remember correctly, that used to be a drugstore with an ice cream counter. Used to love getting the chocolate melted crunch. It was my favorite. And Dad used to tease me by pretending to take links from my ice cream cone, followed by Mom and Mossy for that. Shimmer sighed. It's hard to believe it was years ago. I was just a baby when Uncle Summer died, Coco told her, so I don't really remember him. Sorry. It's okay. Sometimes I'm afraid that I'll wake up one day and won't recall that scratchy stubble he had because he didn't like to shave and Mom insisted on it. Sometimes I can barely remember his voice, or is that I think of my uncle's Nos instead of his. Sometimes I wish I couldn't. I wouldn't hear my mother cry because he still misses the only man that ever has won his heart. A wistful look came over her face as she groaned, planting face and palm. Listen to me. Our grandmother just passed away. Here I am, whining like a little girl, when she wanted more from me. Such an idiot. No, you miss him, Coco told her cousin. That's natural. I'm lucky. All my life I had Mom, Dad, Fancy, and Nana, and my best friend Crackle, too. But I can't imagine the sorrow that you feel because of your father's gone. He wouldn't have been if he hadn't taken me to the circus that day. Mom was busy with work, so Dad took me and we had fun. But then the car blew a tire and we crashed. By some miracle, I was the one that survived. He didn't. Summer felt her eyes grow wet with tears that she never thought would end, and I blamed myself. Ran away, first chance I could get, as the cops brought me back. Felt like I deserved to be the one to die. I didn't admit it to my mom, but sometimes I still do. But that wouldn't be the best thing for your mom. Look, my best friend Crackle, she absolutely loved her older sister, technically half-sister, and she and Shuri were as tight as could be. But a couple of weeks ago, something happened that Crackle still wouldn't tell me about, and she and her sister are on speaking terms. I can't imagine not being able to speak to my brother, or his girlfriend Fleur, or any of my other friends. Well, maybe Scaluzza accepted of that, but she's my friend regardless. In any case, Aunt Celia loves you, Sumi. You are her daughter, and for you to say that you'd be better off dead, would that really be the case? Sumi shook her head, surprised. So when did you get all wise? Coco winked, lighted from my mentor, Twilight Sparkle. Twilight's been helping me adjust to some of the stuff I'll need to be aware of as Zachary. Coco went on to explain some of the problems she had with a couple of seniors, and then Twilight and her cousin Octavia stepped in to mentor Coco and her friend Crackle. Not normally seniors would do it, but in the wake of the inexplicable rupture between Crackle and Suri, the two juniors, both divas, and their conscience he had to explain to her cousin, stepped in to watch over the two girls, and used their authority to prevent further shenanigans. According to Tavi, it was when some seniors spiked a drink at a restaurant that me and Crackle went to that they happened to be at. That was the final straw. On the bright side, I made some new friends now. Sounds vastly different from my life. Sarah says she went on to discuss her life in Paris and her friends back home. Coco laughed when Shimmer told her the part about her friends, or was shocked when he discovered she was a princess of the Bonaparte dynasty. Mom and I don't live like the rest of the family does. We have a normal house. I don't even have a car yet, and I take the train like most people my age. If it wasn't for the fact that I travel a lot, and we have plenty of time on family estates, nobody would know at all why we're royalty. Well, into the... Coco started before she bumped into a pair of girls. Both the young girl collapsed to the ground in a heap, ending up in an undignified sprawl on the sidewalk. Hey, watch where you're going! A girl with long blonde hair lined with her eyes snarled. Her face was contorted in an angry sneer, and her posture indicated that she was looking for a fight, a position bolstered by the strategically ripped jeans and the Metallica t-shirt she wore. Behind her was a meek girl, wearing white jeans and a Mickey Mouse sweatshirt. Her hair was a short dark fuchsia, while her eyes bright blue radiated a sense of worry, though Coco wasn't sure what she was worried about. Hey, I'm talking to you, stupid! The first girl said, while the second one grabbed her hand. It was an okay accident, okay? Laugh. The girl stated in what seemed to be a plenty of line. Let's just go, okay? No, Fuchsia, we're not, Laugh contradicted her. This girl just tried to knock me over, and I'm not leaving without an apology. Lavender, we're going to be late for the movie. The girl named Fuchsia whimpered. No, I'm going to get my apology if it means beating out of her. Excuse me? Shimmer began, jumping to the fray. It was an accident. Nobody's fault, really. So why don't we just let the matter lay at rest? Then you and your friend could go your way, we go our way, okay? Oh, you! To Shimmer's surprise, Lavender got right in her face. I knew sooner or later I'd run into you, little Miss Hot Shit! The other girl hissed from a threatening tone. Excuse me? The flame-haired girl asked. You heard me. You think you're the shit just because you have CHS under your boot? Lavender toned. but I run Forest Edge, and so to me, you're nothing. The blonde poked Shimmer repeatedly in the chest, vowing, "You can have your little shit place, but don't you dare think that makes you more than just a small fish in a big pond. 'Cause in this place, I'm the shark, got it?" Shimmer's eyes narrowed. "I just think I like your tone." "Yeah, well, I don't give a fuck about what you think about my tone. I'll just say this one last time. Stay the hell out of my territory, bitch, or you better hope that serial killer finds you before I do." Fuchsia towered and tugged at Lavender's arms. "Lav, we gotta go." Lavender sighed. Fine, we're going." The two then walked in the direction they intended, but not before Lavender turned and added, "Last word, bitch. Better heed it." With that, the two walked on, leaving Shimmer and Coco to watch as they receded to the throngs on the sidewalk. "You didn't have to do that," Coco said, brushing the dirt off her clothes. "Admittedly, Crackle does, but I don't think anyone would think of me as a baby or anything." "No, that wasn't the case. You did nothing wrong, and that girl was a bully. And strangely, she acted as she knew me." A thought crossed Coco's face. "Do you think she confused you with someone she knows?" "Probably." Shimmer said with a smile. "I mean, how many American-born French princesses do you have running around in the Canterlot metro area?" "I guess not many." "Probably not," the younger girl said with a laugh. Watching from across the street, Last Century looked surprised. "I knew she changed, but I didn't think that much." From his vantage point at the coffee shop, he wanted as his former girlfriend, alongside a younger girl he didn't know the identity of, backed down from a fight with Forest Edge High School's Queen Bitch Supreme, Lavender Lynch. Despite her sweet and sugary name, the girl was as much of a problem child as Gilda Griffith or London Lightning Dust, but with the bonus of Sunset's intelligence and instincts, was able usually to avoid the trouble that would have otherwise come her way. In fact, the only reason he knew of her is because of a few romps in the sack he had with her before he hooked up with Blossom Force. He hoped someday he could sweet-talk Lavender and Sunset into a menage a trois, but unfortunately for him, Sunset dumped him, and Lavender hooked up with that timid little piece of tail with her. A waste of space named Fuchsia Blush, and somehow managed to make Fluttershy look like a street tough. But that wasn't the important part, no. The important part was that he just saw Sunset back down from a fight. More importantly, she was showing kindness to another girl. The Sunset he knew never showed that consideration to others. At least not until the day he ran into her at that restaurant in Horseshoe Bay, all to pretend that girl she claimed was her sister. Twilight Sparkle, a girl that Sunset never mentioned before in all their years together. A girl that, for reasons he didn't still phantom, seemed to remain on the tip of his tongue. He wanted her, not like he ever wanted anyone in his life. Sunset, Lavender, Blossom Forth, all the others were nothing more than mere conquests, while Twilight was the grand prize. The kind of prize he even settled down with. Though to him, that was an insane idea. Besides, Sunset would never allow it. But then again, he said as he watched the two girls walk off, that might not be a problem much longer. Meanwhile, back with our Sunset. If there was one thing that Sunset learned to do over her time at Super Cute Corner Cafe, it was to focus on the work and filter out all the ambient distraction, whether it was the hateful stares of others at first, or, for a more current experience, the hopeful stares of the occasional person who wanted to ask her out. Eventually, when she got her magic back, she was able to densely categorize and balance her magical filtering with a sense of what her customers needed, and finally honed it to the point she was the legendary waitress at Super Cute Corner, even outpacing Pinky's popularity. Though she was building her own rep over at the Knickerbocker. But as Gilda Griffith walked through the door, flanked by a very wary Rainbow and Applejack, for the first time in a while, Sunset wondered what to do. Part of her recoil as the phantom pain of her wound burned through her. Another part of her, the pony within her soul, wanted to do what ponies generally did best: run. Run fast and run far. A third part of her wanted to utilize what she had been taught by the closest pony she had to a biological mother, and burn Gilda to death by a fireball. But the human within Sunset, the human she currently was, remained conflicted and confused. Gilda said her name. "Sunset?" "Gilda?" Sunset's hand went up to her face, and her eyes opened in surprise. She felt her skin bronze, and her breath stopped as her heart began to pump blood through the body in preparation for the former part of the fight or flight protocol. That in itself warred with the need to cast the most powerful spells he could, leave not even a trace of blood smear left of her assailant. Both sides clashed, the fearful and fearless, and neither consoled her what was the best choice. Even friendship itself seemed hollow when facing the girl that very much did her harm. Look, Gilda continued, it's clear that I scare you, and that, I guess, is natural. Maybe a year ago I would have enjoyed it. I know I would have craved it, but that person isn't me anymore. I can't let it be me, Sunset. Just like you changed, I need to too. And the first step is apologizing to someone I know I hurt. Almost as bad as I have my own parents. Sonny, she's not kidding, Rainbow spoke up. Trust me, AJ and I have been writing this whole day, and I think she's legit. Not saying you owe her anything, given the situation, but as your friend, maybe you should give it a shot. Great, Sugar Cube. Usually I'm not one to say something like this, but given your past with her, I'll be the first to admit that I balked. Applejack added, but I think Gilda's on the up and up. Maybe this is something she needs. Something she needs? Sunset said in a cold tone that surprised even her. Well, yep, that's like you did when you changed your ways. You needed us to forgive you before you could even help to forgive yourself. I see. Sunset unconsciously ran her hand down to where the scar was. Wasa Skilfta briefly went to the spot before wincing. She tried to square the angry girl wearing the tan jeans and torn up clothing, stabbing with the girl wearing the rather peppy clothing before her, trying hard not to be what she was. Maybe it was better, maybe not. Her mind wandered back toward the time she hadn't been very far from where Gilda metaphorically stood. There, Rainbow replied, shrugging her shoulders. Can't believe that. She looked at Sunset. Sunset, what's wrong with you? I just wanted... Rainbow allowed herself a rare moment of not coolness. Look, Sunset, it's a Monday. We were just getting used to everything that happened this past Friday. Nothing happens overnight, literally or metaphysically. Metaphorically, Sunset replied. Yeah, that. She looked at the other teen, who was starting to stink of coffee, whose clothes had acquired a very cavernous drain. Plus, really, this big you isn't, well, you. I know, but I have to make amends. Truthfully, it took a lot of effort to get out of bed this morning. And I spent every day of my life making up for that, Sunset realized. It's not the quick answers I was looking for, but what the princess told me. A lifetime discovery is just that, a lifetime. Not a single shortcut ridden garden path. She looked down where the sapling was, covered by her t-shirt, then back at Gilda, who was starting to look a little worried. It's like that old saying Twilight told me about the other day. Mankind was always meant for his reeds to exceed his grass. Or what else is heaven for? If I don't forgive her, then I'm not worth anything to anyone, or any pony blessed with me. Certainly not the trusted friendship of the Princess of Magic herself. Sunset closed her eyes. I don't know if I can be half as trusting as you need to be, Twilight, but I can try. Gesturing to the empty table, she said, Guys, take a seat. AJ, apple spice tie for you. Rainbow, double muggle Americano, right? And what about you, Gilda? Gilda, plopping to the empty seat next to Rainbow, said, iced white chocolate mocha? Sunset gave the same smile she did with every customer. Sure, be right back. Gilda looked at the two of them. Did I miss something? Oh, yeah, you got your foot in the door, Gilda, Applejack said, leaning back in his seat. Well, yours like, don't fuck it up. Cup watched as Sunset walked towards the coffee machine. Go ahead and take your time to unwind, Sunset, dear. When Sunset looked at her surprised, Cut smiled. I can see your eyes right now. You're feeling emotionally fragile at the moment, and you need some time to compose yourself. Go ahead and take a few minutes in the back. I'll take care of the drinks. Thank Mrs. C, Sunset said, softly giving a wan smile to the woman, before she let herself stumble to the kitchen area. Crumpled to the ground, put her arms around herself in a comforting hug while she shivered, filling her bite, taking on a very uncomfortable physiological ride, tears coming to her eyes before she could wipe them. to stop uttering from her mouth before she could even bite out the anguish. Elsewhere, Clavichord sat on a bunk in the room where she was confined in. The very fact galled her. She knew she'd never betray her friends she grew up with, or the sisterhood. After all, there wasn't much choice. CSIS declared Poutine's life forfeit when he decided that the best thing for the Sirens was to be disbanded, and to do so declared war against the organization that had been responsible for much of Canada's stealth Iron Fist and a Velvet Glove strategy. Let the Americans make the big show with the SEALs, Delta Force, and Green Beret. Sirens, more so than any other CANOSOF forces, was the dagger in the back of the enemy when they were waiting for others to break down the door instead. Dead set Katana and the others against their former masters, and a war of attrition that the Sirens were slowly losing, only because CSIS could be held far more personnel and material against them, was made the whole idea of a mole within the organization confusing at best, nonsensical at worst. Unless guards continued the way they were going, eventually they would have the Sisterhood destroyed, little corral or damage. Katana's plan was to take CSIS HQ would succeed, but it would be a pyrrhic fury, with all of them just as dead as the person that would go in to kill. CSIS Director Golden Rule. They had to know it was a matter of time then. So why the subterfuge? To sow dissent amongst the Sisterhood? That was clearly what happened in the short term, but in the long term, Katana could prove her innocent, and the Sirens would be wary for any further attempts to sow dissent amongst the Sirens. If anything, using former Sirens, classified reports stating that some who had betrayed the Sisterhood still existed somewhere out there, would have been something that would have been far more effective. Yet, this was a complete and utter failure. But why? In the long run, it did nothing more than take me out of the equation for a bit, preventing me from being able to do my duties as an intelligence officer. But what? Clavichord thought nothing further, so he suddenly felt 5 spikes punch her through the chest, and a searing pain that came through them. She heard a voice whisper in her ear, "And I never really liked you at all, Commander." As her vision began to tunnel into darkness, Clavichord told her, "Oh, just for your information, it was the captain that set you up for this." Clavichord managed to spit out of her mouth as it filled with blood. As he felt her head being pulled backwards, a monster from hell stared at her with the eyes of malicious glee, raised a hand ending in long, sharp claws. Then the claws moved forward. And Lieutenant Commander Clavichord Thrust, formerly of the RCN, knew nothing more. Meanwhile, back on Cupcake. The 4 girls were laughing, while Mrs. Cake had to run to a cafe for the day. Though the matron kept an occasional eye on the quartet sitting at table 6, she relaxed slightly, as nothing had happened in the past few hours, save for Sunset gradually calming down. Though Cuz practiced eye could tell that her employee was still ill at ease with the other girl, the fact that she knew that Rainbow and Applejack would step in if things got problematic. Furthermore, Cub could easily call the police, and given Sunset was a fault in a cruiser, there would be rare moments' notice. Thankfully, it was seen that wouldn't be the case. "So, for the last time I talked to Lightning, she said her family was moving to San Francisco before the school year starts so she could get away from my negativity, quote-unquote," Gilda said, leaning against the back of her chair. "I don't know what she did to convince her parents she was the one completely innocent of wrongdoing, but it worked." "How are you dealing with that?" Rainbow asked. From the sound of her voice, Cup noted, she sounded sincere. Her niece told her once that the two had a past together, but what that past was, she didn't know. Had they been friends before? Admittedly, it wasn't any of her business, but assuming her patrons didn't start a war in a restaurant or harm each other was her business. Likewise, so was protecting her employee, namely Sunset. So she probably had to admit something of a protective streak for her niece's friends, but that was expected when one was a parent. The phone rang and Cup opted to leave the girls alone. They would have it in hand, he was sure. Meanwhile, the conversation continued on, unaware that the prime protagonist was no longer hovering. "Same way I did when I found out I was dumped by Garble without warning, when I saw them making out with honey chocolate. Went home, drank myself to a stupor. Mom was pissed and Dad was disappointed." Alzak raised an eyebrow, and Gilda had to blush. Yeah. And everything else, have a drinking problem. I inherited a lot of my biological father's problems. Though my parents have gone to lengths to help me move past them, it took nearly ending up in jail to realize I was on the same pain he was. Personally, I wanted him in jail, so I have to move on. Well, that's nice and all, but I hope you don't think that we're going to be buddies after this, Sunset said, trying, and not entirely succeeding, to keep the anger out of her voice. She knew she had to forgive. That was just part of her nature now, both pony and human. And certainly after everything she'd done to people and been forgiven for it. Even though she worked for it, to turn down Gilda would be hypocritical to say the least. But maybe that's the answer. You're going to have to work for it, Sunset said, as the two friends looked on in surprise. You're going to have to be the most hated girl in school, and it's going to be a damn climb up. It won't be easy or quick. I got lucky and found a way to help the school, and that put me back on top. You probably won't be as lucky. But if you're willing to do it, I'm willing to give you a chance. Really? The three girls said at the same time. Yes. There'll be times when you hate yourself for doing it. You'll wonder what the hell you're doing. The day you stabbed me, it was because I went back to where it all started for me, and I wondered if I was doing the right thing. There'll be a time when you'll do the same, and I'll be in a safer position than I was, because you'll need to understand. It's worth it. I see, was Gilda's terse answer. And another thing. Get yourself a better set of friends. Garble used you the same way Flash used me. And Lightning Dust, who unlike my friends, isn't one you can trust and rely on. Find a friend that won't stab you in the back. Both Sunset and Gilda involuntarily winced at the former's choice of words before she continued. I don't know who you know outside your normal circle, but I strongly recommend you talking to them, and to leave your old ones behind. Sunset stood up. Now, if you excuse me, I need to get back to work. The cafe closes in 10 minutes, and I do have to help my boss. But I hope you take what I say in context. I will, but do I have your forgiveness? Maybe. Sunset said as he walked away, but let's see what you do with it. As the flame-haired girl went back to the store, Gilda looked at her retreating form with surprise. I don't understand. Sugar Cube, Applejack spoke up. Sunset's just trying to give you another chance in her own way. I'm not even going to pretend I understand it, but she does have a point. Who do you have to turn to? Because your old circle ain't going to cut it. Without you and the others. Light? We had to talk to the others, Rainbow admitted. While you and I go way back, some of the others might not be as comfortable. Besides, some of you might not be so cool with that. Plus, friendship starts with the first step. Reaching out to someone. What about some of your next door neighbors? There's a girl that lives next to Holy Cross that lives right to us. She's reached out to me before, but I was never interested in the past. Well, that's your first step. Applejack winked and pointed at the door. Get going and get friendly. Besides, it's going to get dark in a couple hours. Like, given what's going on, you probably don't want to be on the streets when that happened. Yeah, no kidding, Gilda agreed. Well, that was fun, Coco said with a smile. Meanwhile, back with Coco, as they sat back in the limousine, bags by the bulk in the trunk in the passenger compartment. Sarah nodded. Yeah, I have to agree. Though I wish we didn't run into those weird girls from earlier. Yeah, I had to wonder what's up with them. A second later, Coco waved it off with a cheerful smile. Don't worry about it. It was probably a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and we'll never see him again. Yeah, you're right, Sarah said with a nod. Want to go to the mall tomorrow? Yep. Fancy could take us there and everything, since he's not busy. Coco comment explained. Plus, I want to make sure I have gifts for Twilight, since her birthday's in a couple of days. I'll help you wrap. Paper crafts a personal hobby of mine. I'll be more than glad to help you make it look the best. Thanks, Coco cooed as he hugged Shimmer. I really appreciate it, Shimmy. Shimmer returned to the embrace. Always. For family. God damn, kids! Elsewhere, a gruff, older voice muttered. Whisk Broom had been working the gym for some time now. Years. And there were two things he could always count on. Babies making huge messes in the daycare section. Kids with no business in the gym and thus making messes. Hell, He remembered the day a few months back when he caught a couple of teens doing what came naturally in a men's sauna. The look of shock on their faces made cleaning almost worth it, especially when he watched the girl run off. If only he was a few decades younger. But now, here he was, in the tennis court room, where one of the overnight staff had reported that the lights had shorted out. So much for those newfangled LDEs, or whatever they were called, that work differently than regular lights. Apparently, they don't hold a candle, pun intended, to traditional incandescents. He knew that for a fact, especially since his wife, Molasses Cookie, had him change the one in the living room lamp this morning. He originally used one of those DLEs, yeah, that's what they're called, but she complained he swapped it out for one of the older ones from the garage. This made her a happy camper and made his life easier. He shuffled in, mop and Cadillac moving along with his feet as he moved across the room. Sure enough, the lights on this side were out, with the sconces above flickering with thin tendrils of electricity that showed that there was a surge of a circuit fried, or something like that. The lights on the far side were controlled by a different circuit that seemed okay. Fortunately, he didn't need much light to be seen by. That's why he'd been a tunnel rat during the days in one of the more successful ones in the army too. Both because he got promotions and decorations, and because he lived to see the end of the war. Finally, he made it to the other side and flicked on the switches. The lights came on, and with it, horror. Suspended from the ceiling from the net inside the court was a formerly beautiful young woman. She was nude, and at any other time would have been a sight to appreciate, but that was taking up from the horrifying gas that went from her neck to her crotch. That was horrifying enough, but it was the strange drawing painted on the ground in the tennis courts that gave him pause. He couldn't understand it or the meaning behind it. All he knew was that the young girl had been murdered, and as he ran out of the courts as fast as his elderly legs could carry him, the image of the star, whatever that meant, would haunt him for the rest of his days. Meanwhile, following his directive, the storm moved up past Ventura County and headed north. The damage to the California coast was already brutal, so much so that the governor had declared a state of emergency. The federal government was soon to send in assistance as well. But that didn't matter for the hundreds already dead from the coastal Los Angeles County and southwards. The body count was soon increased, as the hurricane already spun off one tornado that was tearing off through the northern part of Los Angeles County. Once he 100 miles away, a man laughed as his mystically created hurricane grew larger. Soon it would give him the power to make his final push to start his endgame. Still elsewhere, in Sunnytown, a man reviewed the intelligence reports and applied for a strike on the siren facility. He knew he had the men, and stable or not, he could take down those businesses with no problem at all. The coming storms would give him plenty of cover, and that asshole from Canada would be able to work some official cover so the stupid rubes in town would never know where he'd go on. Maybe after that he'd go visit Lone's girlfriend. She seemed like she was fun in the sack, and Blackthorn bet he could make her sing soprano once she rode him. Still elsewhere, as Celestia slept on his lap, Sable looked at the TV, made sure she was asleep, then reached for his phone, switching to a particular app, and cued that on. A second later, he got the all clear and smiled. "They're not touching you, love," he thought, taking her hand, giving a soft squeeze. Not with the alarm system he set around the house. It was designed to wake him up at the moment's notice. Any common burglar who tried anything would get a decent taser jolt. Not enough to knock him over, but enough to drive him away. And anyone who moved on beyond that was someone he would have to deal with, in a very lethal manner. "But I'm not going to be proud of it at all," he said to her silently. "Not one bit." And at Sunset's, walking over to her bedroom with the phone ringing, Sunset asked, "Tavi, can you pass that to me?" "Yes, sir," her cousin said and lopped it over. Without looking at it, Sunset answered, "Yeah, it's Sunny." Sunny, honey, still fucking funny," a voice said on the other end. "None of your business if I am or not, Brad," she snarled. That Sunset watched as her sister went. That only made Sunset's blood boil. "You have less than a second to explain what the fuck you're calling me for. Not because if it's not more, a second more, I will murder you without even batting an eye. So help me God." "Huh, good one. Almost as you had me worried for a second. I thought I told you not to call me Brad. Well, I thought I told you not to call me ever, so we're even. She mentally counted the 10 before continuing. So, what do I owe the displeasure of your call? Just wondering what you were doing in Everfree Glades, passing off lavender lace. For starters, I was at work today, making peace with Gilda. Secondly, it's none of your damn business what I do, or who I do it with. So you can just fuck off and ride the next horse out of town, got it? Especially since that horse isn't going to be me, she mentally added. Look, not that I should give a shit, but I was going to warn you about fucking Lavender Lace. She's got your kind of reputation. Well, the kind you had before you became Miss Goody Two-Shoes. And she's gunning for your ass, regarding whatever that other girl argued about with her earlier today. Look, I told you I wasn't at Evergreen Glades. Yeah, and I saw you with my own 2 eyes, Sunset. Unless you're some kind of magical wizard, even you can't do that. Well, I am, but you're right. I can't do that. She chuckled inwardly at that. She just told her the truth and he never realized it. In any case, I was never in Everfree Glades. I don't know who the fuck you're talking about, and if you ever call me again, you'll regret it. Look, I'm just trying to make nice, okay? You and me had some hard times, and maybe if I was nicer to you, we could have them again. Or maybe I could hook up with your sister, or maybe... You're a goddamn pig, you know that, Sunset said, and sat right then and there she was going to teach him a lesson. Her mind went through all the various spells that she could transmit by voice. Or a method of spell transmission, but it was how the ostriches of Australia could do magic. I remember one, and then whispered it over the phone. It sounded guttural and hurt her throat slightly. But then again, the human larynx wasn't meant to speak in Austrian English. What was that? I said, don't ever call me again, Brad. A good riddance. She then hung up the phone, plopped on the bed, and screamed into a pillow. On TV, looked away from the screen. You also need to get one of those call blocking apps. Downloading one the first chance I get, Sunset sighed. Was that really him? Twilight asked. Yeah and no. He's not going to come near you, sis, I promise, Sunset told her. Twilight breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. But I'm curious, why do you call him Brad? Sunset laughed. Well, it's his real name. Flash Sentry is a bullshit lie he tells everyone. When both girls looked at her oddly, she had, I got to see his birth certificate once, and it's Bradley, what's his... Old English for White Meadow, Twilight interjected. Got in one, Sunset said. But he never liked the name, because, well, it's archaic. So nobody would ever call their kid that. Well, except his parents. He told me he got Flash Sentry from the movie he stayed up way late once and watched. Some stupid 70s sci-fi film. He liked it and told everyone that he wanted to be called that from now on. Eventually, everyone started to the point when I met him, there was no indicator he had any other name. So why do you bring it up? Octavia asked. Easy. At first it was letting him know he clearly had his balls. Now, it's to clearly let him know who's better than he is. I could easily destroy his rep. Even more than letting him get away with the shit the Five could. By broadcasting to everyone in town that he has a dorktacular name. And that's what keeps him in line? That's what does it. Really? Twilight asked. Really? She said, putting an arm around her sister. Besides, I have other ways of getting back at him. And at Flash, 30 minutes and 1 shower earlier, Flash Sentry had panic in his mind. He spent a week trying to sweet talk Cream Soda to coming over. He never slept with a black girl before, and Cream was a cutie regardless of ethnicity. Skin to color milk chocolate, sweet smelling caramel, tan hair, beige eyes that said he was in for a fun night tonight. Until what was going on now. What the fuck, 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 what the fuck? As he tried to calm down, he knew that there could be only one person who had to be responsible for this, even though it wasn't possible. Sunset, that bitch did this to me! But hell, there's no way she could have. This is some strange reaction to the body wash I used in the shower. The doorbell rang and his panic grew. He was about to get the rocks off. Or maybe not. Given that his skin had turned to the glowing cream orange color, certainly not normal, much less healthy looking. He always had that perfect look now, but now he looked like an overseen creamsicle with blue hair. The doorbell rang again, and he realized he wasn't going to get any tonight. Not for Cream Soda or anyone else. I'm so screwed. Buddy, you were about to be screwed, but now you're not.
That joke was horrible.